will come to order, and we will begin by standing for a moment of silence. Mr. Gilmore will lead us in the pledge.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Apologize for being a few minutes late. We will begin. Let me get to my notes first. We'll begin by the approval of the consent agenda. When we approve the consent agenda, as usual, we approve all the items in it, including the agenda and the consent agenda, and any minutes from any previous meetings or special call meetings. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Jones. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and so ordered. I will now turn the meeting over to Dr. Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. This evening, I have comments just pertaining to the opening of Sullivan East Middle School, and I want to take a few moments to say words of thanks. It really has been exciting to watch this school come to life. I visited for the first time in August when I first arrived, and the amount of work that has taken place on site to get us to the opening has been remarkable. So there are a lot of people that deserve to be thanked, and I wanted to start with thanking Evelyn Rafalowski, former director of schools, who has been working as a special consultant on this project and taking care of lots of details. But namely the principals of our schools who have worked really hard with each other and with our team to make a lot of things happen. The folks that really worked hard to put together the open house at the school. And I'd like to say also that we will be announcing the rescheduled time for the ribbon cutting ceremony in the next few weeks with all of our students in the school. And I commented earlier that, prior to Tuesday, we had a building that was new and exciting. It became a school when our students came through the doors, and so we're really celebrating that success. We do have a lot of things that are still going on, some adjustments being made. Today there was a letter that we sent home announcing a schedule change that will take place on Monday for Sullivan East Middle School. That was made necessary to solve a busing problem, making buses late to Bluff City Elementary School and to Emmett Elementary School. So the beginning time for Sullivan East Middle School will be 7:20 a.m. and dismissal will be 2:20 p.m. And I want to thank all the folks who came together to try to help us problem solve that. So again, just thanks to everyone. Thanks to the elementary principal, to Ms. Nestor, Ms. Murray, who took care of our kids on those days when their buses were a little bit late, and their faculties who stayed with them and fed them snacks and took care of kids, what they do every day. So we really, really do appreciate everyone's dedication to our students. So with that, Mr. Hughes, that concludes my comments.
Well, I'd like to follow up on some of those comments. And Evelyn, she was there late at night, many nights. I was with her a couple times. Nobody will ever know the hours she put in. We had an extraordinary job by all the contractors involved. Usually if you build a house, you have complaints and problems, but they did a really good job for us. And I don't think I was ever on that site that Brandon, the guy that was over the project, wasn't there. very well. Thomas Construction, Bakers, they did a great job, and we're going to try to send a letter thanking all those folks. Mr. Hubbard, Mr. Royston, Mr. Hubbard was here, oversaw the project, did a really good job for us. Our sewer lines are up and pumping now, as we learned a few minutes ago. But I wanted to take a few minutes to address some of the problems we've had, because we've had problems. We expected problems, but there were some that we did not anticipate. I want to talk about some of those problems and some of the things we're doing to address them. We had some unintended busing issues that came back to Bluff City, as Mr. will attest to. I wanted to especially thank you and your staff for your patience and that late night you stayed with those children. It's a combination of things. A couple of the buses went back to the building and didn't know they had to finish the route and had to came back. That was the issue with 6 of those students, I believe. We've got some of those addressed. Route 252 and 253, we had some issues we addressed with some of those routes today. We think we have those addressed. We're going to be adding a route to help out the crowding on Route 210 and others if we see that's necessary. We'll be changing the start time for the middle school, but that will not result in changing pickup time. It will just be a take-up time start. Kids will still be picked up at the same time. I also like to mention Linda Lady, that as Lindsay Lady, that's handled a lot of these issues in Mr. Miller's absence. I was at the middle school at 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning when it opened, and what I saw that staff do there that day was just nothing short of amazing. The huge undertaking, it looked like an army going to work that morning. Very impressed. Mr. Hare, even Mr. Hare at the high school, he got his buses, the first buses got to us 8 minutes ahead of time. We were doing really well until we realized that we had so many more car riders, and we had to change in midstream and send some of the car riders to the bus route. So that speeded things up some on that morning. The next morning, they improved the take-up time by 22 minutes. And we improved that today. Today we got the last student on the bus at 2:58. The last student was, the last bus was loaded at 4:19 at the middle school today. Is that correct, Ms. Nestor? Yeah, at the elementary, 4:9. So we did better there today. We have a lot of improvements to make. But I wanted to especially thank all the people who work for us that put forth an unbelievable effort to get things done. It was really impressive to see. Greg and Hank and Sabrina, Miss Nestor, Miss Murray, Mr. Harrod East, really said something. I mean, I knew we had remarkable people, but really appreciate your patience and your effort. And we still have issues, and we have a parent here tonight to talk about some of those. And we're going to keep working until we get things fixed. Anytime you start a new school, there's issues, and we still have some things that we need to iron out. I think the orientation, we had 2,000 people come through the school, so had a remarkable turnout that night. I am really excited about the new school. I wish there was a way to avoid the difficulties that you have at the beginning. But having said that, I will commit that our people will do everything it takes to get everything back as smooth as possible. Now, the next thing on the agenda, well, let me talk about we've talked about our meeting. We're going to meet on the 6th at 5 and a regular meeting at 6:30 unless everyone's still okay with that? So at this time now, we'll go to public comment. And this is, I guess, what we consider an agenda item tonight. So we have two periods in the meeting that we have public comment, one for agenda items and one for non-agenda items. So first we have Ms. Adler. You turned your papers in first, so you're up. If you would, as you approach the podium, give us your address and state your name, please, even though we know who you are.
My name is Dr. Judy Adler. I live at 605 Whispering Way, Kingsport, Tennessee. Second grade teacher at Rock Springs Elementary. Tonight I come to you because recently my husband broke his leg and I had to take 6 days off. And I normally call all the people I can think of that have subbed for me to see if they'll come in, because I know them, and I call numerous people that have subbed for me in the past, but no one could work the 6 days. So I put my absentee request on ASOP, which is Sullivan County's automated absentee portal. To my great shock, I only had a sub for 3 days of those 6. For 3 days, they had to separate my class between the 2 other teachers in 2nd grade. I was so upset for my students and my colleagues. Why in the world would this happen? So I started investigating, and my research led me to a comparison of substitute pay in surrounding school systems. Hawkins County, and I think that's Dr. Cox's old territory, right? They pay their substitutes $69.50 for non-certificate teachers. Those are people without a teaching certificate. If you have a teaching certificate, you get $71.50. Then nearby Washington County, they pay $70 across the board, whoever will substitute. Bristol pays $68 if you have a high school degree, and if you have a college degree, you get $73. Johnson City pays $70 unless you're a retired teacher. If you're a retired teacher, you get $100 a day. Kingsport City, they pay $60 if you have a degree. If you're a certified teaching sub, you get $67.50, and the retired teachers get $100. Do you know what Sullivan County pays our substitutes? I hope all of you know. I don't know if you all know or not. Sullivan County pays $55 for a person with a high school education and $60 for a person with a college degree. If you do the math, we have the lowest pay in all surrounding systems. I think the question was asked sometime before, well, why can't we get subs? Somebody told me the answer they were given was, well, we have a list of 200 or so subs. That should be sufficient. Wait, let me tell you how this works. You go to the sub portal, and it pops up. Also, the city and the county, I think, in the same area. You can work in Sullivan County for $60 a day if you have a college degree. Or would you rather go to Kingsport City School for the same $60 for a degree, or if you're a certified sub, you get $67.50. And if you're a retired teacher, you get $100. If we went to Hawkins County, Dr. Cox's old territory, you would get $69.50 for a non-certificate teacher at Kenyon. All those I listed and all those things, where would you choose to go? You could make this choice or this choice. I know where I'd go if I was a sub. Perhaps you still don't see this as a problem. So let me shine some little more light on this subject. I know another school in Sullivan County that had to combine classes. That teacher had 40 plus students in the room. Now, 40 plus students, but not 40 plus desks. The students had to sit on the floor, and they had to do their work on the floor. There's not many people here tonight, but are there any parents here? If you're a parent, raise your hand. Okay. I was hoping there'd be more parents here. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand again, but I am going to ask this next question. And I just want you to think about it for a minute. Are you ready? Would you want your child placed in another classroom, sitting on the floor, doing their classwork? I don't think you would. Now, I know some schools have their assistants cover classes to combat this problem. Well, this has a domino effect. The work the assistants were hired to do is canceled. And the spiral continues. Often it takes 2 assistants required to cover a classroom during the school day because we keep our assistants' hours just below the minimum required for paid benefits. And they are not in the building a full day. We need to look at raising our substitute pay. You all know I love Sullivan County Schools, and I know we have the greatest students, the greatest teachers, and the greatest staff. I want us to at least be comparable to other schools in our area. I don't want to be known as that poor school that can't pay substitutes and students are left to suffer. I think we have something called the fund balance for emergencies. And I just don't think increasing the substitute pay will deplete our fund balance. But it might help some of this dire situation we're having. Oh, and by the way, you could use the money that you didn't pay to get me a sub and the other sub as a starter fund, because I don't think you divided that money between those 2 teachers that had to take my students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Samantha, would you approach the podium? You didn't put your address down. What was your address?
Do I have to say it?
Yeah.
It's 428 Neal Drive.
Heel.
Neal, N-E-A-L.
Before you start, let me give a little background on you, would you mind? Samantha's a mother that has 3 students in our system. She has one at the elementary school, one at the middle school. It'll help our board understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And one at the high school. And I've talked to 2 mothers that had a similar issue. Hers is a little different, but sometimes we've got a parent that takes a child to the high school and then has to turn around and take one back to the middle school, and then maybe go back to work at Bristol or something and gets caught in the traffic both ways. She has an additional wrinkle, and she has an elementary child. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, and since you've got a guest with you tonight that's not wanting to speak, I'm going to give you a little more time. We normally allow 3 minutes, but I want to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to give you a little more time to compensate for her not speaking. But when I do this, that means sum it up, but I'm going to give you extra time. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Y'all have to forgive me, I do not have a speech or written anything. I left from work, found out about the meeting, and came straight here. So I am still in my scrubs from work today, so you guys will just have to forgive me on that. Like you said, I do have 3 children. I have one that actually goes to Bluff City Elementary with Miss Nestor. I have a child in Sullivan East Middle School, and I also have a child in Sullivan East High School. I am a single mother most of the week. My husband works out of town, and there is a limited supply of extra people in my village to supply rides and care for my children. We do the best we can, and that's what we do. I have 2 options getting my children to school now that my daughter is in the new middle school. The bus runs by my home at 6:20 in the morning, which makes my 12-year-old child, my 15-year-old, he's a little bit bigger, we're going to give him a pass. My 12-year-old would have to get up at 5:45 in the morning, get on the bus at 6:20, get driven to school. Okay, they get home at almost 4 o'clock. That's a 10-hour day for a 12-year-old child. I'm 35 years old and I don't do a 10-hour day most days. And they're expected to provide great attendance and great grades and make Sullivan County look great on those papers and those TCAP scores. So me being a mother, I may coddle them, I may make them, baby them, whatever you want to say, but I make the decision for my family and for myself to get them to school by driving them, to avoid them getting up so early in the morning. I want them to have some rest. They do have extracurricular activities that keeps them out late at night, and, that isn't, they stay out later sometimes. So I leave my home at 7 a.m., drive my high schooler to school, drive my other child to middle school. Takes me 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to say. I get back to my house around 8 a.m. By that time, my elementary schooler has missed the bus. So that means I drive him to school as well. All the while, I've gotten myself up at 6 a.m., gotten myself ready for work, driving everybody to school, driving myself to work at Kingsport, 30 minutes away. So before I even get to work, I've been driving for 2 hours, and I work locally. So they get home late, and I understand the buses is a situation, and I get all of that. However, prior to all of these changes, my child got up at 7:30 a.m., started school at 8:40 a.m., and now it's an hour and 40 minutes difference that she's starting school. And that's a huge change for a small child. And my child isn't even special needs. Those kids is a completely different ballgame. The slightest change in their morning schedule or their morning time could bring havoc on the day for their teachers, their aides, their parents. After school, it's a huge nightmare. And I'm sure it is. And I work with those kids. I work in pediatrics, so I know. Then you have the kids who are in totally different classrooms when they go to the middle school. They started half the year with one math teacher that teaches completely different, and now they're in a new school with a brand new teacher that teaches them completely different, but yet they're expected to still produce the same grades that they were doing previous to the Christmas break. So they are in a total new school, new schedule, new changes, new everything, new teachers, and now that's added stress on those children that they have to do all of these things all at the same time. They're little, and I know this is going to be great in the long run, but our children are paying the price for the children it's going to benefit. It's going to benefit my 4th grader, I'm sure. It'll be great for him. My 6th grader, not so much. Today, I received, this is the letter that got sent home to our kids today, telling us all about the school time changes. My 12-year-old wrote on the back of this paper, "I am so, so, so sorry. Mom, I wish there was a bigger word for sorry." Do you know why she's apologizing to me? It's because I have to do so much to get her to school, that it is affecting her this much, that she is writing me a letter and leaving it and saying that she's sorry for something that's not even her fault. So then I tell her, "It's okay, sweetheart. It's not your fault. Don't worry about it." But then I am talking my child down and bringing her from a stressful situation that should have never happened. The schedule should have been set. The decision should have been made, whether it was in January or August or whatever day it was going to be made. I understand there are problems and everybody's working really, really hard, and honestly, as parents, we appreciate all the hard work. However, again, our children are paying the price for all of these solutions that we're getting right now. And I know that you guys are doing the best that you can to do that. However, the added stress on our children and the added stress on parents. I'm a working mom. My boss was wonderful and changed my schedule to allow me to come to work at 9 a.m. Originally, I was supposed to be there at 8:30 a.m. There is absolutely no way under the sun that I would be able to do that. To provide to be a good mom and to be a good employee. Everybody wants to try to balance both of those. It's concerning with all of it. I know that, everything that I say probably is not going to be a huge deal, and there's not a whole lot of other parents here that can, speak their mind about it, but this is heartbreaking that you come home to that. So I just want you all to know that it is affecting them. They're little, and life is hard for them. Life is hard in middle school. It wasn't like middle school and school now is not like it was when we were little. And I'm 35 years old, so I mean, school was different when I was little, and now it's completely different for them. And the anxiety and stress level that you see in children now is off the charts. And I work in pediatrics. I see these children on a daily basis. In fact, my own child, my oldest child, has been through things like that. And I know that you all can't solve all the problems, but this is important. This is really important because they're little kids. And I appreciate you letting me talk to you guys and you hearing me out. And I hope that everything kind of works out for the best for everybody.
Thank you. Even though there's not a lot of people here, I know I've talked to a lot of people, Dr. Cox and probably everybody on the board's talked to a lot of people, and we do pay attention. We can't do everything you want or please you in every way or make every change, but we do. We've made a lot of changes this week based on phone calls and requests from people. Thank you for coming to speak. Feel free. One of the things I've noticed, and I meant to mention in my opening remarks, is one of the things that we've got to do better is to know how to communicate. When a lot of people kind of reach out to the wrong party, directly contact us through the director or any of the board members. A lot of communication I got second and third hand, and I had to contact people that way. Feel free to directly contact us. Our numbers are on the websites. And
that was my plan for tomorrow.
Well,
and then we
I'm very glad you come, and I'm going to give you the option before you leave if you want to. Well, if you can call me directly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all the public comment that I see, Dr. Cox.
All right, then continuing with unfinished business, item 6 is we have policies A through H listed that were presented for the first time on first reading last meeting. We did not have a policy meeting over the holidays, but we do present these policies on the agenda for your consideration and approval on second reading. And if it pleases the board, this could be done in a single motion with recommendation for policies A through H on the agenda.
You have that recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Jones. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Spivey. Discussion on the motion? Hearing none.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Thank you. Under new business, we have 2 items, and I'd like to invite Mrs. Deloach to come and address them. The first one is the change order that we spoke about in the work session for the Sullivan Middle School pump station, and this does require a board approval as well as the way that we would like to fund it. So I'm going to turn it to Ms. Deloach.
As we spoke in the work session, we need your approval on this change order in order to get the pump stations up to the approval authority approval. So we'll have to have an approval of the change order and as well as where you'd like those funds to come from. That can either come from the reserve, which will require commission approval, or it can come from our operational that would only require your approval.
We have a recommendation. Are you prepared, or I will do it?
I recommend that we approve this change order and that we take it from the operational budget.
We have the motion. Do we hear a second? I'll second the motion. Discussion? Hearing none?
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the final item is we're asking for approval for general purpose school fund budget, which is essentially a cleanup item, and Ms. Deloach will talk about some changes from what's actually printed that we're asking for your consideration.
Item number 1, we need to change that from moving $40,000 from instructional supplies and materials to vocational instructional equipment to $47,000. It's still a cleanup amendment within the major category, but we need to make that change in order to get it through the end of the year. So again, we're changing it from $40,000 to $47,000.
You have a recommendation, do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Spivey makes a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jones, discussion on the motion. Hearing none.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
Mr. Spivey?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes.
And that concludes the agenda for this evening.
As many of you may know, Mr. Miller's mother passed away, and there's visitation tonight. Keep his family in your prayers, and so getting out a little early may lend itself to more people getting to go to visitation. Seeing no more business before the board, go ahead.
One thing I mentioned in the work session when some of y'all were still in there but had left, I went to the Harlem Globetrotters last night, and some of our students from Central Heights as well as Ketron were there. Ketron performed the national anthem and did a great job, and all the kids looked like they had a good time. So I want to congratulate all of them for a good job.
Thank you. Anyone else?
The code of ethics on your comments,
I did not see that, sir.
just a reminder to everybody to make sure that.
Thank you. Every year before January the 30th, every year before January the 30th, we have to fill out a code of ethics form with the state. Everyone here should have a website already set up. Make sure you get that done before and submitted before the last day of January. And thank you for the reminder. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question? The time change that was decided, I assume just by the staff?
Yes.
I mean, central office, that,
Yes, Mrs. Thomas, the schedule time change is a result of a problem-solving meeting that we had involving all the principals and the bus contractors to alleviate the problem with Bus City elementary buses.
Anyone else? We stand adjourned.